What's up, everybody? It's Tris, the raid leader for Whites on Trash, aka the Tinklebells. And I just wanted to make this video so we can go over the strategy that we'll be using in our Nightbane fight that's coming up. What you see here is an overhead view of the Master's Terrace. It is a two-phase fight, a ground phase and an air phase. Both of them have separate abilities that Nightbane will use, and there's a particular reason why we position the way we do and how we do. On the pull, we'll summon Nightbane, and Cindy, you're going to misdirect Nightbane onto Renew. Now, initially, there'll be no DPS until Renew gets the boss into position. It's a little tricky because when he comes down, he's going to be at some kind of an odd angle, and Renew needs to slide himself along the wall until Nightbane is facing directly at the wall and his tail is buried into the structure. The range are going to be split into two groups. The first group will be Tibba, Tristany, and Cindy. The second group will be Glazy, Noble, and D. The first group, Trist's range group, will be right up against the structure, and D's group will be all the way on the outside of the ring, right against the outside wall. The melee will be positioned right against Nightbane, at the back leg. Right there where the claws are, that's where you want to stand. Alright, so why are we positioned this way? It's because during the ground phase, he has the most abilities. The first three, we can pretty much mitigate almost completely for everybody but the tank. One is a tail swipe, which no one will get because his tail's in the wall. No one's near it. The other one is a cleave, that he will cleave in front of him, so that's the melee will not get in it if they're on the back leg. Only the tank will get hit by that. And last but not least is the fire breath that he does. It's called Smoldering Ash. And again, the tank will be taking some damage there from that blast. But those are three of them that we can mitigate right from the beginning. Everybody else, just forget them. Don't even think about them. All right, so why are the range positioned the way they are? Well, first of all, they do need to be positioned about 35 to 37 yards away from the boss. I have a little add-on. It kind of puts a display on the screen that looks like this. And if you want to get that, just ask me about it. I'll put it in our raid group as well. It's really nice because it tells you how far you are away from your target or your mouse over. So that gives you an indication of where you're at. You need to be that far because of Bellowing Roar. It is a 35-yard radius AoE fear. So if the range is at 35, 36 yards away, we're not going to get hit. So that's how we're going to mitigate not dealing with that. Melee, however, we're going to have Savari drop his Tremor Totem. I think that's what it's called. That'll help break the fear every tick. And of course, the tank needs to have Fear Ward on him at all times. Once a fear goes off, make sure that we put that fear ward back on the tank. So that should mitigate the majority of Bellowing Roar. The second ability he has that's a little dangerous is called Charred Earth. He will select a random raid member and cast a circular area of fire damage underneath that person. That's why I've split the ranged group into two groups with healers in both. That way, if one group gets it under them, the other group can continue to heal and DPS while the group it was cast on can move directly over to the other group. You will join the other group. That way you stay at the max range and can just keep on from that point. Melee, if it gets on you, all you simply do is run through the boss to the other side. That's plenty enough distance, so you may have to back away from the boss just a little bit, but there is a big hitbox, so you don't have to be right up against the boss anyways. The reason you start on the opposite side from the range is that if you do get Charred Earth and you run across, then you will be in range of healers to top you off because you'll probably take a tick or two of damage. And the only thing I'm not sure of is whether the tank can get it cast under him or not. But if he can, what he's going to do is move towards the ranged groups just enough to get out of the Charred Earth. Then he's going to go a little bit further, maybe 5 more yards, in order to get Nightbane in position. And then he's going to back towards the Charred Earth enough to get Nightbane once again positioned with his tail buried into the structure. During this time, the ranged will have to back up as well, so they maintain that max distance to the tank and the boss. And the melee, you'll have to make sure that you're moving with Nightbane's back leg, however that ends up moving. If you get too far behind, you're going to get tail swiped. If you get too far ahead, you're going to get cleaved or breathed on. So just stay on that back leg the whole time, and everything will be good. All right, so that pretty much takes care of Charred Earth. The only other thing that's happening during this phase is an ability called Distracting Ash. He's going to cast that on a random raid member, and it does need to be dispelled or cleansed as quickly as possible. What this does is reduce the melee or spell hit of the person it's cast on. And that's a DPS drop. We don't want that. So let's get that dispelled right away. And that's pretty much the ground phase. It's not hard at all. We can do this part, no problem. Okay, so once the ground phase is over and we get to 75%, he will go into the first air phase. He will stop pounding on the tank and take to the air. And that's when everyone will stack onto Tristany. I will have myself marked with a blue square. Nightbane will fly away, turn around, and then be facing the platform that we're on. And you want to be 20 yards to the left or to the right of where he's facing. So if he's facing right at the center, then you want to be in the center to the right or to the left by 20 yards. You do want to be in the dead center of the walkway, though. You don't want to be against the structure or out by the wall. You want to be in the center. What you're going to do is we're all going to stack up together. We're going to watch Nightbane. And during this time, Cindy, you're going to drop your frost trap. And as soon as he picks a target, it'll be a random person. Everyone is going to move away from that target. So if we're to the right, we're going to move towards the left. If we're to the left of Nightbane, we're going to move to the right. What we don't want to do is move even further away from Nightbane than that 20 yards. During that time, Nightbane is going to start casting Rain of Bones on that random person. The tank is going to be closer to that person so that he can start consecrating. That'll be Trucks. And whoever's got the Distracting Ash in the tank is going to need, some heals right away to keep him alive during that time. The Rain of Bones is an AoE, kind of a rain that's coming down. So they're both going to be taking some damage. And then, of course, the skeletons are going to spawn. And hopefully, Trucks is going to pick those up really quickly. Cindy, you're going to misdirect onto Trucks at that time and use your AoE abilities. Trucks, you're going to pick one of the targets, mark them with a skull. I highly recommend a little macro that you just hit that will mark that skeleton with a skull. And this is so that the melee can pick up on them and range can pick up on them for those who are doing the single target attacking. Ranged, you're going to start your, wait, well, don't even wait, just, a second or two to get in position, and then start your AoEs. D dot like hell, your Seed of Corruption, and then when you do your single target, make sure you're doing that on the skull so that we can get that single target rotation going on there. I'll be doing my AoE spiel. I've got to get closer, but I'll do my best to stay further away. If they do happen to break free and start coming towards healers or the ranged, I will freeze them in place with a Frost Nova, and then Trucks try and pick those up as best as you can with a taunt or what have you. I'm kind of torn here. I'm not sure. We may, it might be that Renew will just stay in bear form and then, help tank anything that gets loose, or he might be able to switch into DPS form and help the melee focus target them down. And I really think we won't have any problems here. I think we should be able to deal with them pretty quickly. We may have to get a couple attempts in just to see what it looks like, but we can do this. We can absolutely do this. Now, there is another piece that goes on here. After Rain of Bones, he will also be doing what's called Smoking Blast. He will pick the person with the highest threat, and that person will get this fire attack on them. It does fire damage as well as apply a debuff, which stacks and increases the amount of fire damage they take. For this one ability, we're going to have Noble. As soon as we group up, you're going to cast Righteous Fury, and you're going to start healing yourself. That will put you at the top of the threat meter, and you will be the one getting this attack. Once you start getting attacked, you're just continuing to heal yourself and cleansing the debuff off of yourself. Noble should be completely self-sufficient for taking care of Smoking Blast. And then the last ability that that Nightbane does during this phase is called Fireball Barrage. And this is basically just a cheat eliminator. If anybody gets beyond 40 yards of the boss, he will then pelt everybody in the raid, not just that person, but everyone with fireballs. And so, yeah, don't do that. Okay, so the trickiest part of this fight is when Nightbane lands from his air phase. He has a reset aggro table. We need to get Mr. X onto Renew again. Once the tank has established aggro and he has gained a little lead on everyone, then we can start DPS again slowly and then ramp up to where we can kick his butt. And that's pretty much the fight. The phase changes are at 75%, 50%, and 25%. That's when he'll be taking to the air. Let's do this, guys. I know we can. Later.